Hey, Greg here for Party File. Got Scott behind the camera. We're going to talk about AoE's, or Area of Effect weapons and spells. And basically we're just going to talk about how to deal with the AoE once it's on the table and the effects of that. So if you look at the weapon or the spell, it'll state that it has an AoE, and that means it has a blast associated with it, whether it's a 3-inch, 4-inch, or 5-inch. And so that means that it can affect potentially multiple models on the table. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to show you how that works in terms of hitting models and if it deviates and how that affects it. So let's go down and take a look. Okay, so we're down here. We've got a model with an AoE ranged weapon, and this is a troll bomber. Bomber, yes. And he's got a range 8, POW 15?
16.
POW 16, holy crazy pants. AoE 4 range attack, and it's got reload 1. And he also has an animus that gives him Far Strike, gives him +4 range, so he can use that to give himself a 12-inch range. And over here we have some Iron Fang pikemen from Khador, and they are in shield wall here. And over on this side we have a Ogren Bokur, who has the shield guard ability, so we can talk about that as well. And we'll get around to using these other models in a second. So this troll bomber, when he activates, he can check. Oh, and look, there's a big dude back there.
I decided to throw a ruin in there.
So he has a couple of choices. He's at range 8 is right there. He can try, if he wants to stay out of certain threat ranges, he can try lobbing the bomb there and just have it deviate, or he can snipe himself, or sorry, Far Strike himself. So we'll say he's going to Far Strike himself, giving him a range of 12 inches, and with 12 inches he can pretty much hit anything except maybe a ruin. Let's check with my crappy measuring tape here. And he's just in range on Ruin. So if he wanted to hit Ruin, he could totally do that. So we'll do this a couple different ways so that you can get ideas of how the blast works. When the blast...
you should do it like beginning to end, and then that way each one's separate.
Okay.
That way you can say, okay, this is how we do it this way, this is how we do it this way.
Alright, so in this case, the bomber wants to put some relevant damage on Ruin, and also clip some of the Iron Fang pikemen and hopefully kill them. So he's going to activate, he's going to Far Strike himself, so he has a range of 12, putting him in range of Ruin. And it's important to note that his range 12 is just clipping the front of Ruin's base, but when we place the AoE will be centered on Ruin. So he makes his attack roll, he hits, you will center a 4-inch AoE on the model that is hit. In this case, that's impossible pretty much. But that's why you can get these really cool widgets from Muson Minis or Broken Head Games. And you can see they're all labeled SML, and that means small base, medium base, and large base. And on each of the side, there's 3-inch, 5-inch, and 4-inch. And you can use those to go up against the model's base. So in this case, this is a large base, and we're using a 4-inch AoE. So we're going to butt that up against Ruin's base. We're going to see that it clips that model, and that model over there. So Ruin is going to take a attack damage roll at the full POW of the weapon, which is 16, and it's boostable in this case. And each of the Iron Fang pikemen that are in the blast are going to take half of that. So they're going to take 16 divided by 2 is 8. They're going to take POW 8s. Now they are in shield wall, but because the origin of the attack is from behind them, like in their back arc, they will not gain the benefits of the shield wall. So the POW 8 will be against their base armor of 13, 14, something like that. So, and those are all boostable as well. And that's the way basically blast damage works. So if the target is hit, it takes full POW, and any models in the AoE that are not directly hit take half POW. So that's on a direct hit against this guy. Let's try it another way. If he's more interested in killing Iron Fang pikemen than doing damage to Ruin, he can target, say, this model here, and he would make his attack roll against him, and if he hits, you would center the 4-inch on him. And this is a good instance of, like, you just talk with your opponent. If there's any sort of disagreement about which models are under the AoE, then you're going to get out your widgets and stuff like that and start proxying models to make sure that those models are in. In this case, it's pretty undeniable that all of the Iron Fang pikemen are within the AoE. And if you want to, we could remove this model. We're not going to, but it looks like Ruin is outside of the AoE, so Ruin won't take any damage. So in this case, if this model is directly hit, he would take full POW 16, and because the attack origin is coming from the front, it would gain the shield wall bonus, so it would be armor 17 or
18, I think.
Maybe it's 18. Plus 4 armor on the front. So he takes a POW 16, and all the other guys, because the point of origin is still in their front arc, will also get shield wall, and so they'll take the POW 8 against their modified armor with the shield wall. Something else that you can note is that the shield guard is within 3 inches of that Iron Fang pikeman. So the Khador player, if he's concerned about losing some of his Iron Fang pikemen, he can shield guard it onto the shield guard guy, and when that happens, the shield guard takes the direct hit, and you center the AoE of the blast onto the shield guard model. And so in this case, only the Ogre and Bokur would be hit, and he'd take a POW 16. So, and because you have all your pre-measuring, make sure that if you're aware that the opponent has shield guard models, check that 3 inches. So in this case, if the troll player didn't want the shield guard to take the hit, he could target this guy over here, say, so that he is not within 3 inches of the shield guard, and the blast will still stay here, and even probably there. It's going to probably get all 6 Iron Fang pikemen. Yep. So that's on direct hits. Now we're going to talk about missing models. So say the bomber targets this fellow right here, okay? And he's within range because he sniped himself. And his attack roll misses. So when an AoE misses, you have to deviate with it. And you notice on all of these rings that are supplied by PP or some other manufacturers, there are numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And those are the deviational directions that you can go. So you center this over the model. There's a number of ways to do this, but it depends on how you roll and how much potential argument may occur from where the AoE may go. But the direction 1 goes directly away from the firer towards the target, or in this case, I guess, past the target, and the 4 goes pointing back towards the guy who's firing. So then you would roll a d6 for the direction and a d6 for the distance, and make sure that when you roll it, or before the game starts, talk with your opponent and tell him which one is the deviational direction, so there's no argument about that either. So this is going to go direction 3, 2 inches. So depending on how easy it is to measure, you can try to do it from up top, and you measure from the center of the model that was being targeted to the center of where the blast will land. So in this case, it'll go here. Now, it looks like these 4 models are hit. This one's a bit questionable. But what you can do is there are other devices that are available to you. These ones are made by Broken Egg, and you can see these ones also have the directional markings on them, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can use another proxy for a small base to determine where the blast is going to end. So, and I'm just sort of setting this up away from the model so I don't have to disturb the models or anything like that. So I'm going to go like this, 2 inches, and then I'm going to center the AoE. This is just like a bit of math, I guess, would be what it
The
is.
little circle widgets, you don't need the AoE anymore. You just use the widget to show what's hit.
It's true, but I want to move that AoE, or that, this one. So you can kind of see, I mean, he's a bit tucked in, but there's no way that 2-inch deviation would actually clip that guy's base. And you should really try to do this type of thing, or start proxying the models and move the blast, because there's a lot of parallax and stuff that happens when you're above the table like this, and it can be extremely difficult to get an accurate sense of what's in the blast. Now, if this guy didn't snipe himself, and he just wanted to try to drift the blast onto something, so he has a range of 8, so you determine where that range goes to. You still have to pick a target, so say he's targeting this guy here. So you determine the point of impact by going to the max range. And you can, a lot of people just place a bead or a focus or whatever, but if you have one of these like Broken Egg things, they're really handy because it's a small base and it's got all the directional markings on it. Then you roll for deviation, white being the direction. It goes direction 1 for 5 inches, which is a...
Before you even move it, now you can, because it's a direction 1, you can measure it right from the model. It's the only time you can really do it.
That's true. Because these guys are range 8, and I rolled a 5, you can basically add the 5 to the 8-inch range to get where the point of impact is going to be. So that'd be 13 inches. So it's going to hit pretty much right here on Ruin. Okay? And you can sort of center it in AoE and discuss it with your opponent. In this case, there's going to be some debate probably about whether these 2 models are clipped. I don't think they are, but if there's some sort of debate, you can proxy Ruin's base, so we'll do that actually. We'll take this big fat hulking ruin off the table, put a proxy down, and then I'm going to get my 5-inch out. I'm going to measure from the front of the blast proxy to the, in this case you may even want to proxy these small models, it gets crazy, but I'm going to do it by eye because otherwise it's going to take forever. So I'm going to place the proxy down there, so it's 5 inches away where the blast is going to land. I'm going to take my other widget and measure 4 inches from on the small widget, the 4-inch blast off of my proxy for where the blast is landing, and you can see that it does clip that model and it does clip that model. So in this case, because it's deviating, ruin was underneath. It's important to note that even if the center of the blast is over top of a model when it's deviating, but it wasn't a direct hit, the model is not directly hit and will not take a full POW. Always takes a half POW when you do not get a direct hit. So half POW on ruin, half POW on both these guys is boostable. We can do the same thing. Let's say if it goes direction 2 for 5 inches. I can use my blast proxy here, get that lined up there, put that there, and then use my widget to determine if any models are in the AoE. So, we're now going to cover what happens with AoEs when models are engaged and you're shooting into melee, because that happens occasionally. So, in this case, let's say we got a mauler here, and he wants to get to ruin without taking free strikes from these Iron Fang pikemen because they have crit knockdown, and that's really sad. So the bomber's going to try to help his buddy out. He's going to try to blow a hole in the Iron Fang pikeman wall so that the mauler can get onto ruin. So in this case, he's probably going to snipe himself, and then he's going to target whoever's out of the shield guard range. So this model here, he will clip his buddy with blast damage, but POW 8 on the mauler, not that big of a deal.
Dice minus 10.
Dice minus 10, not a huge deal. So he's going to target this guy. His defense goes up to like 17 or something when he's in melee. So say he rolls bad and he misses the model. Now with normal ranged attacks that did not have an associated AoE, you would re-roll the attack on other models that are involved in the melee, but that is not the case with AoEs. If you miss your initial target with an AoE, even if they are engaged in melee, you do not roll an attack roll on other models, you just deviate it. It missed, it deviates. So in this case, you would center it with the one over there, the 4 over there, roll for deviation. I guess it's important, I didn't mention it before, that the blast can only deviate up to half of the distance that it was actually thrown.